All right, so we've got a few tweets to go over in regards to Gary Bettman's most recent comments at the Board of Governors. There were a few things shared today about the NHL, about their plans for international hockey, about the upcoming NHL Draft, as well as Bettman speaking out on Corey Perry. So, without further ado, let's go over onto some of the tweets that highlight these things. Darren Dreger, 10:55 a.m. goes out there and says this, that the NHL Draft will be held on June 28th, 29th at the Sphere in Las Vegas. The NHL board just made it official. This will be the final NHL Draft before decentralizing. So, this is going to be great. I mean, the Sphere in Las Vegas has definitely been a cultural phenomenon, and it is pretty cool to see the NHL finalizing their in-person drafts with a bang. I do honestly question how it's going to work, though, because, part of the reason that the NHL drafts on regular arenas work is because they remove the ice and they do the entire surface on the ground as, the draft floor, quote-unquote, where they set up all the different teams, and of course there's a stage up front, WWE style, where everybody goes up and drafts their players, and then all the seats are for the crowd, right? It's for people like you and me who want to attend, it's for the families and for the players themselves. But the Sphere, based off of everything that we've been seeing about it so far, all the concert footage and all the stuff from its interior, I mean, it kind of looks more so like an extended, bigger and grander kind of dare I say, college lecture? It doesn't really look like it has that big stage on the ground for NHL teams to be able to set up 32 different tables for them to sit at, and then the stage itself would be so close to the middle that I'm not too sure how everything would work. I mean, I don't really know much about this thing, to be honest. I'm just going off of the pictures I'm seeing on Google, but there are some interesting ideas as to how they could probably make this work. I mean, of course, the crowd aspect is going to be fine. They're going to have enough seats in there to get the appropriate amount of people sat down. But either way, NHL Draft Sphere, it's going to be there before the draft decentralizes. So what that means is that they'll make the next drafts after this not have all the 32 teams sitting in one room discussing with each other. They'll do this probably over the internet and have one localized place for all the draft picks to settle down. But either way, in-person NHL drafts are going to go out with a bang at the Las Vegas Sphere. Gary Bettman also said this, that when it comes to their projected revenues, they've got about $6.2 billion in projected revenue, and as a result, the salary cap for 2024-2025 is projected to being $87.7 million bucks. He also said in regards to that Sphere thing that they're finalizing plans to hold the draft there. This is from Elliot Friedman. But that tweet also had a pretty interesting amount of information too. The fact that the cap is going to go up to 87.7 mil. Right now, if you go over to the regular cap in the NHL, it is $83.5 million a year. We all kind of recognize that the salary cap did not go up as much as it could have the past few years because of COVID, but getting an increase of about $4.2 million a year is going to be significant. That's like one middle to top six forward right there. That's like an Anthony Beauvillier, if you wanted to say that. So 87.7 mil, there's a lot of options that teams could go out there and exercise with this type of a cap increase. Some teams, of course, are not going to get much because they have extra circumstances that prohibit them from actually taking advantage. I'm looking at you, Vancouver Canucks, and that Oliver Ekman-Larsson buyout. But either way, 87.7 mil is a good number to see. There also were some updates from the entire conversation about international hockey. This is the next Friedman tweet in this thread. Smaller international event next February, which is likely going to have 4 teams, Canada, Finland, Sweden, and the USA. But the NHL is hopeful for a World Cup in 2028. The only concern that Bettman gives about the Olympics is construction of the rink, which has started late, but he recognizes the importance of this entire process. Now, further to this point, a Pierre LeBrun tweet goes out there and summarizes it a little bit more. Bettman says the most likely format for 2025 NHL-NHLPA International event is a best-on-best tourney featuring Finland, Sweden, USA, and Canada. Then he's hopeful that the Olympics in 2026 and World Cup of Hockey in 2028 will both be options. Now, the 2026 Winter Olympics, this is going to be interesting. If you go over to the event here, it's going to be held in Milan, so Italy. It was between this and Stockholm, but if the NHL is concerned about the construction of the rink, I mean, 2026, right? There are a few years to go before then. I'm not too sure how long a rink actually takes to make, but it is 2023 right now, so you guys got some time. Speed it up. Further to this, we had ourselves another tweet made by Renaud Lavoie. Lots of issues to be resolved before the NHL confirms that players will go to Milan for the Olympics in 2026. The biggest issue is the arena could only open 6 weeks before the start of the games, if no more delays, and that is a problem. So in an ideal world, they probably would want to see everything be finalized and ready to go maybe multiple months before the events start and not 6 weeks. So because that's going to be a super tight schedule, I mean, I don't want to say it's going to be like, oh, the Olympics are not going to be an option until the very last minute. We don't know if the NHL players are going to go. But I mean, look, the way it's trending right now, it does not look too positive. We just gotta hope that the folks over in Italy are able to build this properly and quickly without any problems. If there are problems, then hey, who knows what's gonna happen there. Finally, we also did have ourselves a comment made by Gary Bettman in regards to Corey Perry, and this may be why you clicked on this video in general. Bettman says he is comfortable with the results of the Blackhawks investigation into Corey Perry, although he is not determined if the player will need to have a conversation or a hearing with him to return. There also was another tweet made by Chris Johnson. Gary Bettman says he hasn't determined if Corey Perry will need to have a conversation with him if Perry wishes to resume his NHL career at some point. So, for the Blackhawks investigation, we had already made our comments and videos about how they could not have revealed much of the results because they wanted to protect one of their employees, which is totally valid when you say it like that. It's just the way in which they did respond to everything was so, let's just say, late, and it wasn't really thorough enough to the point that it actually satisfied what fans wanted or needed to hear, because part of the reason this entire thing blew up in the way it did is because we didn't have any information. We didn't know what happened, and there were rumors that started up because of it, and you all know the rest of the story. However, when it comes to the investigation itself, it's apparent that they did do as much as they could have without leaking this, because the only real insider information we had received was from Frank Saravalli and Emily Kaplan. Those were it. Other than that, though, we didn't really get much, which could be seen as a good thing because they were able to keep it under wraps. Even the players themselves didn't know about this entire situation. So if Gary Bettman's going out there and saying, yeah, I mean, I'm satisfied with what happened, but we'll wait and see before there's any return to be had here, whether or not he needs to talk with me first. I mean, Gary Bettman has always been sort of that final hurdle anyway. We've seen a few players throughout the years needing to talk to him to verify and clarify whether or not they're able to return, stuff like that. So for Corey Perry, I mean, if Gary Bettman is positive about the results in the investigation, then that's, I guess, a good thing if you're trying to say you want Corey Perry to return to the NHL in some capacity. I mean, we had talked about this in the other video, but there are so many teams that are probably going to be involved here. We talked about the Oilers, we talked about the Colorado Avalanche, we talked about the Florida Panthers. So when it comes to any of these teams wanting to get Corey Perry, a move like this where Gary Bettman says he is satisfied with what happened, that's a good move. At the very least, right? So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about Gary Bettman's comments on the NHL Draft being held at the Las Vegas Sphere. We talked about international hockey today. We talked about the upcoming 2025 event with USA, Sweden, Finland, and Canada, which is going to be so limited in terms of its accessibility to players, but either way, one best-on-best tournament, even if it's in a limited capacity, is probably better than none at all. So we'll pay attention to that in 2025. We'll pay attention to the Olympics in 2026, as well as the World Cup of Hockey in 2028, and then, of course, the comments Bettman made on Corey Perry in that situation. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.